Yeah, we could start with
They're not big.
So at least
Up here.
let me make sure my phone is on.
Where the south and the north come together on the New Canyon, it's bigger and deeper. I've waded. When I fished up here, I can actually get out and wade up the river and fish in the middle of the river. And the deepest I maybe ever got was 13. I think it's time.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Boy.
Still waking up. My name is Nate Brown. I'm the Vice President of Growth for Century 21 Affiliated offices here in Illinois. And on behalf of the leadership of our company, I wanted to welcome everybody this morning. There's a number of folks from our leadership team, and I know a number of our managing brokers that are here today. I'm not going to start naming names, I know I'll probably forget somebody, but I just wanted to say it's great to have you here today. I think the invites went out about 3 weeks ago, and we had 130 people registered just like that. So that tells me that this is an important topic that we're going to be covering this morning. The market has shifted, if you haven't noticed, and I think that old adage, you have to list to last, is truer today than it ever has been. So I am excited that we have a lot of Century 21 affiliated agents that have taken some time out of their busy schedule to be here today to learn and relearn a lot of important things when it comes to listing properties. And I also would like to welcome a number of agents that are not with Century 21 affiliated, from other companies and other brokerages. Welcome. We are excited and happy to have you with us here today. You know, one of the things that we preach at Century 21 affiliated is our agents and leadership. It's that we come from a place of abundance and not scarcity. So in terms of learning and training and growing, we hope that everybody here takes something away to help you grow your business through the duration of 2022 and beyond. I wanted to just come up here and publicly say a big thank you to she has spearheaded this event and taken the bull by the horns. It was kind of funny because about 3 or 4 weeks ago I was having some conversations with our education department and other folks in our company saying, we really need to do some live training when it comes to listings and listings conversion. And no more than like 2 days later, Teresa was already planning something unbeknownst to me. So it's fantastic. Teresa owned her own brokerage here in Naperville for many years, Ryan Hill Realty. And about 5 years ago, has it been? Time flies and you're having fun.
I know.
5 years ago, she looked to partner with a big brand to take her business and her agent's business to the next level. And I think you talked to pretty much everybody, from what I'm told. And she made the decision to come to Century 21 affiliated. And she's here in our Naperville office, and it's just been a great pleasure to work with you these past 5 years. There's two things that I'll say about Teresa that I appreciate, amongst many things. The first is she can get a big group of people together and have a nice event and a nice party, and I always appreciate that. And the second thing is that Teresa is a lifelong learner. If there's a real estate conference, I can almost guarantee you that Teresa is going to be there, and she's going to bring her team, and she believes in continuing to learn and to train her agents, and that says, I think, a lot about you and a lot about your business. I think at this point she probably has one of those frequent flyer cards with the Ferry group with all the events that she's been a part of. So big thank you to Teresa Ryan, and I will let her come up here and introduce our speaker for today.
Thank you, Nathan, and thank you, Century 21 Affiliated, for partnering with me in sponsoring this event. As Nathan said, we're just super excited to have so many Century 21 affiliated and other Century 21 agents here, as well as agents from other brokerages. As Nathan said, we come from a position of abundance, and it's super exciting to get together with so many professionals from other brokerages that are also committed to continuing to develop and grow yourself and be the best you can be. I believe we never stop learning. When we stop learning, we get lethargic and, you're either going up or down. So there's no staying level, well, unless you're in a cemetery, right? So, but anyway, I also, I got to put on glasses to read this. Because I do want to welcome the agents from other brokerages. We have people, agents here from Barry Warner, Remax, John Green, Rutenberg, Cloud Up, Keller Williams, Option Realty, Ketley, Diapril, DPN, Exit, App Properties, and Center Coast. I may have missed somebody, and if I did, I'm sorry, but I love it that we get together as professionals to learn together and to collaborate together so that we can help our buyers and sellers and help our community and help strengthen the housing market. So with that, I'm so glad that you're here. I also want to, welcome you to the Hotel Indigo and the Elements Convention Center, which is where you're at. The Hotel Indigo is the #1 performing hotel in the country in the IHG brand. So we're really super proud of that. And the Elements Convention Center is also a wedding venue. So I'm really excited to welcome you here and hope you're enjoying the fresh pastries and the fruit and the fresh coffee there. So next I would like to I don't know how to say this, but Ira Nadich is a Mike Ferry coach. He's been with Mike Ferry over 25 years, 15 years as a coach, and he's the #1 requested premier coach in the network. Prior to being in real estate, he was 20 years in the Army as second lieutenant.
Started as a second lieutenant.
Pardon?
Started as a second lieutenant.
And then went up from there. But it was stationed right here in Illinois. So with that, I'm just really excited to introduce to you Ira. If you could give him a great welcome.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'm not going to stand up too much on the stage. In fact, I'll probably be walking around a little bit. This is a deep room, and it's a nice room, and I don't want anybody to feel neglected. Throughout today, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Let's make this interactive, because the more questions you have, the more I'm able to help you. I love coming back to Chicago. Teresa said I was in the Army for 20 years. It started right here at my commissioning at the University of Illinois Chicago Circle. No, that's not where I went to school, but when I was in college, my parents had moved to Chicago, so I came here for my commissioning so that my parents could be there. And I was a resident of Illinois, without ever living here, for my entire military career. The reason is because Illinois doesn't charge state income tax if you're on active duty. So I made sure that I was an Illinois state resident. Because I like not paying taxes. But also, Chicago then was where I always came home to because it's where my parents were. And I had an aunt and uncle in Highland Park, cousins in Highland Park. I've got cousins in Chicago, so I've got a lot of family here, and it's always nice to come back. My dad and I used to walk to the Cubs games. Do we have any White Sox fans in the room? You guys can leave now. So let's talk a little bit about real estate. Well, first let me ask, how many people in the room have been in real estate for over, say, 15 years? Oh, wow, a lot. Let's give them a hand. Good for you guys. See, they're a group of people that have seen ups and downs. Some of you newer people, if you've been in the business 10 years or less, don't know what the word expired means. Okay? Have never probably had to ask for a price reduction in your entire career. But times be changing. Okay? Times are changing. How many people in the room have been in the business for less than, say, a year? Okay, if you've been in the business less than a year, stand up, please. If you've been in the business less than a year, stand up. Okay, now take a look around. Take a look around and see who's standing. Stay standing. Take a look around and see who's standing. See, NAR teaches us that 85% of new agents don't last 18 months in the business. So the reason I want you all to stand up is look around, see who else is there, because you may never see them again. Okay? Okay, thanks, have a seat. But you're in the right place. You're in the right place because you're taking the time to learn more, and you're in a great company. And you're in a great company. So there's so many people to learn from. And you've got all those veterans that have been in the business so much longer to learn from. So take advantage of that, and hopefully you'll all be here 18 months from now. You'll all be here a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, because this can be a great career. I mean, stop and think about it. If you want to be a doctor, you've got to go to college for 4 years. Then you go to medical school for 4 years. Then, depending what kind of doctor you want to be, you go through an internship. And that internship can be anywhere from 2 years to 10 years, depending how specialized the field is. And then when that's all done, you might make $100,000. You might make $150,000. Now, if you're one of the best certainly you make a lot more money, and we all hear about the doctors that make really, really big money. But that's not the masses, okay? Or you can become a lawyer. You can go to college for 4 years. You can go to law school for 3 years. Then you have to pass the bar. And once you pass the bar, you get into the field and maybe make $100,000, maybe make $150,000, okay? Or you can become a real estate agent. You don't have to go to college. You take a class that's what, 90 hours or so of clock time, okay? Take good notes, listen, take the state exam, pass it. If you don't pass it, just take it again, okay? And if you don't pass it again, just take it again. And I remember when I took my exam in Pennsylvania, I got in the elevator to take it for the first time. There was another guy there and he was sweating. And I said, "Are you okay?" He says, "I hope so. My wife's getting so tired of me taking this exam." And I said, "Well, how many times have you taken it?" He says, "This is my 10th time."
Oh my God.
I said, "Oh my God." Okay? But see, we can do that in this field. And then, if you do a good job, you can make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay? I coach some real estate agents on my schedule that are making over $1 million a year. Who wants to earn more money? Wait a minute. This is not good. You know only half the hands went up? Do they know this is a real estate seminar?
They do.
But who wants to earn more money?
Woo!
Okay? Then we've got to keep our learning going and be prepared to change how we do some things. So let's look at some statistics for right here in the Chicago area. Over the past year, inventory in the Chicago metropolitan area, I'm not talking about Naperville, I'm talking about the entire Chicago metropolitan area, has averaged just 2.1 months. 2.1 months of inventory. That's a low amount. Now, for those of you that haven't been in the business a long time, that might seem like a lot, or it may not seem like a lot. But until we get to 6 months inventory, we're in what we call a seller's market. Okay? Once we get to 6 months inventory, 6 months days on market, that's a balanced market where neither buyer or seller have an advantage. Right now, even though it's changing, it's still a big advantage to the sellers. Okay? And that was a decrease from the previous month, from the previous year, when it was just, a 2.8, okay? You're experiencing this firsthand. You're experiencing it firsthand. Do some people take out mainly buyers in the room? Are there some buyers agents in the room? Are you having a hard time sometimes finding things for your buyers? Okay? That's because of the lack of inventory. That's because of the lack of inventory. That's going to change a little, and we're going to talk about that, but it's not going to change a lot, okay? Like Nate said, in this business, you've got a list to last. You've got a list to last, okay? Now, can some people be just buyer's agents? Of course, especially if you're on a team and you've got people feeding you leads, there's ways to do it. There's ways to do it. But somewhere in the process, there has to be somebody taking the listings, being the rainmaker. Okay? Now, for the listing agents, it's been more of a fun ride. Has anybody listed homes that don't sell? Okay? So when you take a listing, it's almost a guaranteed paycheck, isn't it? Okay? We've got to start thinking differently. Are there some greedy sellers out there that want to price their homes here when they should be down here? Okay? We're going to have to be more careful with that in our sales ability. See, a year ago or 2 years ago, you think the house should sell for $600,000. They want $650,000. Okay, I'll take the listing. Okay? Because who knows, it might sell. And it did. It sold for $700,000. Okay? You thought, wow, I would have never guessed that. Okay? But now, are some people starting to see some homes actually sell for less than list price? Yep. Yeah. It's starting to happen. It's starting to happen. And it's going to continue. Right now, though, the average home in this area is selling in just 6 days with 5 offers. Okay? The average home that sells right away. Some of them don't sell right away, which is why we're starting to see increased market time. But those that sell right away are selling with an average of 5 offers. The listing agent's always going to win. 4 of the buyer's agents aren't going to be happy, and their clients aren't going to be happy. Okay? So we need to learn how to react to that better. Now, since the market bottomed out in 2012, prices have risen a lot. The median price of a home now, in the Chicago metropolitan area is $345,122. That's a 4.8% increase over the past 12 months. That's a pretty good increase. Now, in some places, you'll talk to people in other parts of the country. I was speaking last week in Portland, Oregon, and their housing prices went up 19% last year. 19%. Yours have gone up 4.8. Again, that's across the board. In some pockets of the Chicago area, they've gone up double digits. In other pockets of the Chicago area, they've gone down a little. You've got to know the market in your individual marketplaces, but that's an average. In Naperville right now, the median price of a home is $475,000. Okay? So it's a little bit higher than Chicago in general. Here's what's interesting. And you might want to write this down, because this is going to be interesting for your sellers when you meet with them on listing appointments. Inventory in March was 15,684. Inventory in March was 15,684. In April, it was 17,234. 17,234. Wait a minute. Does that sound right? Inventory is going up. Boy, that's a change, isn't it? That's a change. Okay? There's about 1,600 more homes on the market than there were new sales. Okay? So inventory is going up. Why does that happen? Well, what were interest rates, say, 14 months ago? Does anybody remember? Under 3, for sure. Under 3. I know I bought a home in April. I locked in February of last year, and I paid 2.25%. 2.25%. I liked it. I liked it. Okay? My wife liked it. VA, no money down. Okay? Who says VA loans can't win? I bought my home, and I was competing. We beat an all-cash offer. Okay? See, we don't get beat. If you're a buyer's agent, don't let yourself think that all cash is always going to win. Because what they're looking at, what the seller's looking at, is what the total package is. The price, the terms, and the conditions. They're going to pick the best offer. Is the best offer always the highest offer? No. Is the best offer always cash? No, because there's so many other things that go into an offer. Okay? So we've got to write the best offers. It doesn't always have to be cash. Anything can win if you're the right offer. So yes, it's true that while inventory remains low, we are seeing throughout North America, though, an increase. And that's beginning to change our market. And with that change, we have to change, okay? Now, we've already talked about the fact that there's quite a few new agents in the room, and there's a lot of veterans in the room. How many have been in the real estate industry for less than 5 years? How many less than 5 years? Okay, so quite a few, about a third of the room. Okay, you're the ones that are going to see the biggest change, because you've never had to see an expired listing. You've never had, or you've had, hey, you know, we had 5 expireds yesterday. 5. Who remembers when there was over 50 in a day, or even over 100 in a day? Okay, so you're going to see completely different things. Who's never had to take a price reduction in their real estate career? Okay, so one person raised their hand, which means there's about 30 liars in there. Okay? And that's okay. Okay, now, listen. I'm seeing a lot of tired people out there, and we got to have more energy or I'm leaving. I'll tell you what, Terry already invited me. He said, Ira, if they're not active enough, he said, the fishing poles are already in my car, and we can just blow this pop stand and go fishing. Is that true?
That's the truth.
You ready to go? There's already somebody fishing out there. In fact, he's gone. But he had a stroller. He had his little baby. He was babysitting as he was fishing. Okay? You know, when I bought my first home, it was in 1982. I wasn't in real estate yet. I was just a home buyer. Interest rates were 18%. We're complaining now they're all the way up to 5. They were 18%. Who remembers 18% interest rates? Did people still buy and sell homes?
Yep.
Okay. Was the market still vibrant? Sure.
Yeah.
People were still getting transferred. People were still getting married. People were still having babies and needing bigger houses. People were still dying, estates were selling houses. People were still getting divorced. You know, all kinds of stuff happens that generates ultimate home sales. It happens even at 18%. 5%? That's nothing. That's nothing. And that's how we have to think. You can't have it in your head. You can't let your mindset get messed up thinking that, oh, my buyer's not going to qualify. Okay? Well, then sell to an investor, because if the buyer can't qualify for a house, they still need a place to live. So more investment homes will come into play so that people can buy homes for renters to move into. Or the buyer will still buy a home. They'll just buy a less expensive home. Or they'll buy the same home and the seller will come down in price. All kinds of dynamics can take place, but we can't let our mindset get messed up, okay? During the bad parts of the market, if you want to call it a bad part, do you know the best agents do their best? Because the same amount of homes sell. It's just the great agents don't let it get to them, and they keep selling more. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay? So we've got to keep our mindset strong. Now I want you all to write down a series of questions. I want you to write down a series of questions. And I don't want you to share the answers with anybody, except maybe your spouses. Okay? If you don't have a spouse or significant other, if you don't have a spouse or significant other, get on Craigslist tonight and find someone. Okay? But I want you to write down these questions. Number 1. How has my life changed in the last 5 years? Is it better or worse? How has my life changed in the last 5 years? Is it better or worse? See, we've got to think in the past about what we've done right, what we've done wrong, what we want to continue to do, what we want to change. And if we can look back at what's better and what's worse, we can come up with a plan to make it the way we want to make it. Number 2, has your business changed? has your business changed, comma, and is it growing at this time? Has your business changed, comma, and is it growing at this time? Hopefully everybody's business is growing, okay? Certainly the opportunity is there for everybody's business to grow, and if your business is growing, great. If your business isn't growing, you're in the right place. Because hopefully, we're going to teach you some things that are going to get you thinking differently. And you're in this great room with so many great agents during the break and afterwards. And you know, you can be talking to other people and ask them how their business is and what they're doing to make it grow. Because there's so many teachers in this room. They're all doing a great job, and everybody else can be learning from them. But you've got to make sure you're learning from the right people. You know, Mike Ferry teaches the 180-degree rule. Does anybody know what the 180-degree rule is? Mike, what's the 180-degree rule?
Do 180 degrees different than everybody else.
Yeah, find out what the masses are doing and do something else. Okay? Because we're not talking about the people in this room, but the majority of real estate sales nationwide are done by the top 10%. Top 10% are doing 95% of the business. So you want to be talking to the people that are in the top 10% and find out what they're doing. Because one thing's for sure in real estate, even your customers, everybody is a subject matter expert. They know more about real estate than you do, and if you don't believe me, just ask them. Okay? You know, so you want to find out what people that are real successful are doing and emulate them. Okay? And then you want to find out what people that aren't so successful are doing so you know what not to do. Okay? So we want to know how our business has changed and is it growing at this time. Number 3, what is your income now? What is your income now? And where do you expect it to be in 5 years? What is your income now and where do you expect it to be in 5 years? Okay? That's important because right now our price is starting to level off a little. We've already talked about the fact that some homes are selling for less than what they're listed for, but as a general rule, our price is starting to level off.
Yes.
Well, that means income is going to also level off per transaction. Now, your income doesn't have to level off. Not if you do more transactions. Who wants to do more transactions? Who wants to earn more money? Okay? We can do that. Okay? But first we have to look at where our income is now and where do we want it to be in 5 years. And once you decide where you want it to be in 5 years, do the math and figure out how you're going to earn the money you want in 5 years. If it's growth, you can sell more houses. That's one way. What's another way to earn more money?
Reduce expenses.
Charge more commission. Charge more commission. Okay? Now, well, they won't pay it. Really? Do people really fight commission that well? Or is it that we don't know how to handle the objection? Okay? There's a company, not in the Chicago area. They're in Indianapolis, Indiana. Their standard is their agents have to get 7% listings. If they don't take 7%, they have to have the manager's permission. Okay? And by the way, they're the dominating agency in the Indianapolis area, Carpenter Real Estate. Okay? Is their market that much different than everyone else's? See, you can be getting more if you want more. We have to know how to present it and how to show our value. People, so are there discount brokers out there that will do a real estate transaction for 1%, 2%, or 3%?
Yes.
Of course there are. Of course there are. There always have been. That's not a new phenomenon. They've been there. Why aren't they successful? Why doesn't, if they were that good, if that system really worked, why wouldn't everybody go to them? I mean, I would. If that system worked, why would I go with a Century 21 and pay 5, 6, or 7% when banana real estate can do the same thing for 1%, 2%, or 3%? Well, the answer is they can't. You're right. You get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. See, if they see the value in what you offer, they will pay for the value. Who here has ever had surgery of any kind? Okay, before you had your surgery, did you go to the doctor and say, well, you know, this other doctor will do it for less? And do you want the doctor that does it for less? Okay? I want the rich doctor to do my surgery. That means he does more of them and does them better. Okay? So the same thing with our business. They are willing to pay for the service, see value in what you're doing. We've got to be able to sell that. Number 4, are your assets growing or shrinking? Are your assets growing or shrinking? And where do you want them to be in 5 years? Are your assets growing or shrinking? Just your bank account. Your bank account's an important part of your assets. Your retirement account. Hopefully you've all got a retirement account. If you don't, you want to start thinking about that. Maybe you're buying houses yourself as investments, you know, so that you can grow net worth that way. You know, paint. When you want a nice piece of art on the wall, are you going to Dollar General and buying a print and buying a print for $1 and then go to Michael's and pay $10 for a frame and say, look at my new picture, isn't that nice? Or are you buying some serious art that can really grow in value and increase your net worth rather than depreciate? You know, there's all kinds of things that you can do to grow your net worth, but you want to take a look at that. Are your assets growing or shrinking? And where do you want them to be? When I was 32 years old or 37 years old, okay? But I still, every morning, get up and do the treadmill and do the recumbent bike and walk the dogs and do all that stuff. And I've got to do more. And we all have to do more. Because if we're physically fit, if we're healthy, we have more energy. And if we have more energy, we can do more work. And the clients see that, you know? And then you don't get sick as often. You know, you got to take care of your body because your body, okay, who has a car? Almost everybody. Do you take the car in for oil changes? Okay? Does the car sometimes have to go to the shop for a tune-up or a new belt or new disc brakes or whatever? Why do we take care of our cars better than we take care of our bodies? Okay? We've got to take care of our bodies better because it's going to help you with your real estate business. That's what we're talking about is real estate. But the better we take care of ourselves, the better we'll be able to do. Okay? We're going to come back to these questions later. We're going to come back to these questions later. So, I told you I bought my first home. It was in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And it was 18% interest. Just 3 years later, I bought my second, between 8 and 9%. Will that happen? I don't know. But that's what the predictions are at this time. We need to know that. Any idea why we need to know that? Anybody? Why do we need to know that?
Tell your buyers they're just going to continue to go up.
Yeah, yeah. How many people have heard buyers say, well, I'm going to wait for the rates to go down?
Yeah.
Time is not their friend. If they want to wait for the rates to go down, tell them that they should plan on renting for the next 5 to 10 years. And how much money in equity have they lost during that time period? Okay? We've got to help them increase their sense of urgency because waiting is not their friend. Okay? And waiting isn't the friend of the sellers either. Well, I'm gonna wait to see for the market to keep going up. Well, prices may not go up. They may start coming down. As the rates go up and it becomes more difficult for a buyer to buy, that could affect their sales price. So, but we need to understand these things in order to be able to educate our clients. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. So what Mike wanted me to talk about today was how to solve the inventory problem. And that's where we're going to focus our time, on solving the inventory problem. And this is great. We've got probably close to 90 or 100 people in this room, and I'd like to welcome everybody that's watching this as we're streaming to, I guess, a couple different locations, and that's great. So hopefully everybody's able to stay with me and ask questions as you have them. So as we talk about solving the inventory problem, I want you to write down point number one. Point number one. We're continually asked, what's going to happen in the market over the next 6 to 12 months? What's going to happen in the market over the next 6 to 12 months? Any ideas? What's going to happen to the market over the next 6 to 12 months? Anybody have an idea? Winfield.
Flat prices.
Flatter prices, okay. We could have flatter prices. Prices are going to start to flatten out in some areas or even decline, okay? You can mark that as point A. By the way, if I come back to some of these points and tell you that's point C, it's because Winfield was not looking at my notes and he came up with a third point before he came up with the first point. Okay? But prices are going to start flattening out and even declining in some places. As interest rates rise, inventory tends to rise. Buyers will have more choices. Okay? When buyers have more choices, they don't have to bid as much on a particular house because they can put offers on different houses. They've got options. Okay? The good news is we still have very low inventory. We still have very low inventory. Remember we talked earlier, a balanced market is when you have a 6-month supply. Well, you've got about a 2-month supply. That may increase to 2.5. It may increase to 3. You will notice the difference, but it's not going to take it away from being a seller's market. We have a shortage of inventory. That shortage will continue. That shortage will continue. So that's a good news for the sellers. Okay? What's another reason? What's another thing that we can anticipate happening over the next 6 to 12 months? Anybody?
Fewer buyers.
Fewer buyers. Okay? Fewer buyers. And the reason we're going to have fewer buyers is because of the interest rates. So let's write this one down as point number 2. Less first-time home buyers because of interest rates and prices. Less first-time home buyers because of interest rates and prices. It could affect second-time and third-time home buyers too, but not at the same level that it will affect the first-time home buyers. Because a lot of them don't have the cash in order to put down as down payments. Okay? First-time home buyers in some areas are just being priced out of the market. So let's take a $400,000 home. $400,000 home. FHA. So FHA, how much money do they have to put down? Percentage. 3.5%. They have to have 3.5% of their own money. Let's assume that they're also going to pay their own closing costs because we've still got a seller's market. And for you newer agents, the veterans remember this when sellers used to pay all of the closing costs because they did that just to get the deal through. Well, right now we're not in that kind of market. So you've got a $400,000 home, 3.5% down. At 2.5% just a year ago, okay, their payment was $1,525 a month. That's principal and interest. I'm not counting insurance, I'm not counting taxes, I'm not calling MIP. Anybody know the difference between MIP and PMI?
Conventional.
There is no difference. It's just that one is, for some reason, FHA calls it MIP and everybody else calls it PMI. But nonetheless, okay, we're not counting that. We're only looking at principal and interest. $1,525 a month. At 5%, interest, that payment just went up to $2,072 a month. So it went up basically $500 on the same house. On the same house. If it goes up to 6%, they're now at $2,314. Okay? That's significant for a first-time home buyer. They're getting priced out of the market. They're getting priced out of the market. And is that your fault? No, then don't take responsibility for it. See, sometimes when we're pre-qualifying our buyers, we've got to make sure what they can afford and what they're willing to pay. And you can feel bad for them if you want, but it's not your fault. You don't get to take credit when they can buy a bigger house. You can't take the blame when they buy a smaller house. Okay? Maybe what we should be doing with the buyers is saying, you know, why don't you buy a smaller house that instead of costing $400 only costs $300 or $250? And they said, those houses are crap, we don't like those. Well, have you looked at your apartment? I mean, that house is better than what you have now. And it's going to grow in value, and then you can trade up later. You can trade up later. See, who here besides me has ever had a client with a $300,000 budget, but an $800,000 appetite? Okay? Just everybody. Just everybody. But we've got to be careful. Don't show them the $500,000 and $600,000 houses, because if you do, well, they wanted to see it. Tell them no. Because they're going to fall in love with the features and benefits that flat don't exist in their price range. And then you've made your job infinitely more difficult. Okay? Ira, I want to see this 4-bedroom. I want a 4-bedroom, 2.5-bath home. Okay, good. But I want to see this 3-bedroom, 1-bath home. Why do you want to see that? Well, because I just do. Well, don't show it to them. Say, if you like it, are you going to buy it? No, I need 4 bedrooms. Well, then I'm not going to waste my time showing. Okay, so that's going to cause inventory to go up because those buyers are gone. Agents I can find in the company, and I asked if somebody will go with me on this listing presentation, and nobody was available, and so I didn't even know what paperwork to use. So I went to the closet and I took every form I could find and put it in my briefcase. And I go on this listing presentation, and I must have had diarrhea of the mouth. And pretty soon, they were falling asleep. So I said, this is pretty boring, isn't it? And they said, yeah, it really is. Do you know how that was for my self-esteem? I said, this is pretty boring. And I said, would you just like me to get your house sold? And they said, yeah, that'd be nice. And I said, well, okay, let's just do the paperwork. And they said, okay. And I said, shit. I don't know what's the right paperwork. So I'm looking in my briefcase, and I find this thing called exclusive right to sell. I said, this must be it. Now remember, it was an expired listing. So I'm looking at this form, and I'm thinking, I don't know how to fill this out. And I said, you know your house was on the market before, so maybe we can save some time. Would you like me to save some time? They said, well, that'd be great. And I said, do you have your old paperwork? Because I can take the information from the old paperwork and just transfer it to the new paperwork. And they did. And they gave, huh. Okay, here's where the address goes. Oh, this is your name. Okay. And I'd write this stuff down. And I said, I'll tell you what, this is going to take a while. So why don't we just sign this main contract? This is the main thing. I'll take all the rest of the paperwork back to the office so you don't have to stay up and worry about it. And I'll bring it back tomorrow just for you to sign. It'll all be filled out. Would that be? They said, that'd be great. And that's what I did. I went to my manager the next day. I said, what do I do with all this crap? My manager helped me fill out the paperwork. I brought it back the next day and they signed it. But we've got to have skills. I didn't have them then. I didn't have them. Okay? And it was a 2-hour presentation where they were falling asleep. The Mike Ferry presentation is 25 minutes. That's all it takes. 25 minutes, you'll be out of there with a signature. Are we there to pet their dog and tell them how cute their dog is and how beautiful their decorating is? Or, I mean, when you go to the doctor, you know, you go into the doctor and they say, oh my God, do you look fantastic? Have you been working out? You know, they don't do that. They're there to solve your problem. We're there to solve their problem, and that's to get their house on the market and get it sold. And if we've got the skills, it's going to be that much easier. We get the skills by practicing. You know, football players. How many football fans? How many Bears fans in the room? Oh my God, only about 1/3 of the people. What teams do you watch? I thought it was a national law in the state of Illinois that you have to be a Bears fan or you're not allowed to live here. The Packers, who are they? The Packers. Okay? That person has to leave the room with all the White Sox fans. Okay? So a football game is 3 hours on TV, right? But really it's only 60 minutes of clock time. So now for 60 minutes of clock time, okay, you have offense, defense, and special teams. So the offense is on the field for about 25 minutes. The defense is on the field for 25 minutes, okay, for the same team. And then special teams is on the field for about 10 minutes. Is that a fair average? Okay? But are they really playing for that 25 minutes? Because the clock is running most of the time. Okay? They're really only in a play. The offense is only in a play. And this is if you're a starter and if you're in every single play. They're actually on the field doing a play for about 3 or 4 minutes a game. And for that, they practice 40 hours a week. So that they can be at their best for that 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. And then there's the guy on the bench that never gets into the game, that practiced the same 40 hours so that he can be prepared in case he's needed on 1 play or 2 plays. Okay? My son that's in medical school was a college football player. He played for University of Nevada, Las Vegas. In 4 years, he never got into a game. He wasn't good enough. He was a place kicker. He could kick 50-yard field goals, but the number 1 place kicker could kick 55-yard field goals and never got hurt. Okay? So he still had to practice 30, 40 hours a week as a college football player to never get in the game, but he was always ready to get in the game. Are you practicing so you're ready to get in the game? Because if you're not, you're still getting onto the field of play, which is your listing presentation, or taking your buyers out, but then you're fumbling the ball, or you're throwing an interception, or you're dropping a pass, because we don't have the skills we need in order to do what we need to do. Letter C. The quality of activities, underline the word activities, the quality of activities you're involved in. There are 5 income-producing activities. 5 income-producing activities. Prospecting, lead follow-up, prospecting, lead follow-up, going on appointments, whether it's buyers or sellers, prospecting, lead follow-up, going on appointments, negotiating contracts, and role-playing or doing other practice. Because if you're role-playing or practicing, you're improving your skills, which ultimately is going to increase your income. So it's an income-producing activity. So prospect, lead follow-up, appointments, negotiate contracts, and practice. Those 5 activities should be taking up 75 to 80% of our day. Because that's where you make your money. 75 to 80% of your time should be doing those 5 activities. The problem with most real estate agents is that we have 75% of our time doing the other stuff. Well, I've got a photo shoot. Really? Are you taking the photos? Well, no, the photographer is, but I gotta be there. Why? Do you not trust your photographer to take good photos? Well, last time he went out, he took photos and the toilet seat was up. Well, make him go back and redo it. Okay? You being there isn't an income-producing activity. Well, I have to go to home inspections. Why? You don't trust your home inspector? Well, I need to watch. What? Do you have an engineering degree? Okay? We've got to spend more time on the income-producing activities. Who wants to earn more money? Do more of the income-producing activities. Okay? Because that's where we make our money. Well, the buyer wants me to be there. Well, that's because of our presentation. You know, Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Buyer, you know, normally I don't go to the home inspections because, quite frankly, it's not in your best interest. I don't want the inspector to try to please me. I want the inspector to try to please you. Okay? And you should be with the inspector the entire time, unless they go in the attic or on the roof, because for safety reasons you can't do that. But for the rest of the time, this is going to be an education for you on the house that you're getting ready to buy. And I don't want to get in the way of that at all. But I'll tell you what, as soon as the inspection's over, would you do me a favor? Well, sure. Give me a call while the inspector's still there. And I'm going to ask the inspector if there's anything of real major consequence that I need to have attention to when I'm negotiating on your behalf. See, you don't have to be there to accomplish everything that your buyer needs you to accomplish. And they'll be happy because you've helped them select the best home inspector that they could have. Okay, so we said prospecting, lead follow-up, role play practice, and keep a good schedule. That's going to help keep you on track. Letter D, the actions you take. Underline the word actions. The actions you take. Do you know what to say, and do you know what to do? And more importantly, do you do what you say you do? See, anybody here major in marketing in college? You majored in marketing? Yep. So do you remember what the 4 P's of marketing are? They teach this in every business school in the country. Price, promotion, product, and place. Okay? So that's what they teach. Price, place, product, and promotion. Those are the 4 P's of marketing. But we're not dealing with marketing. We're dealing with real estate marketing. Does anybody know the 4 P's of real estate marketing? And this is what most agents do. Okay? The 4 P's of real estate marketing. Put up a sign. Put it in the MLS. Put up your feet. And pray. Okay? And that's all they do. And that's all they do. Don't be that agent. Okay? In the last few years, that's the only agent you had to be because it sold before you put the sign up. Okay? But those days are changing. Okay? So there's other things we need to do. The actions we take. Stay physically fit so that you've got the energy you need. Don't let yourself, get down. Don't let yourself get tired. I coach a guy, and he goes to bed like at 12 or 1 o'clock every night, and then he's tired in the morning. And I said, "Why are you going to sleep so late?" I had an old baseball coach that once taught me nothing good happens after 10 o'clock at night. So why are we up go to bed? So I'm not tired. Well, of course you're not tired because you trained your body. Okay? Retrain your body. Who's the hardest person to retrain? Anybody know?
Yourself.
What's that?
Yourself.
Yourself, but the older you are, the more difficult it is. The older you are, the more difficult it is. How old are you? You're see, you haven't made. You haven't made. I'm serious. Because you've only got 20 years of bad habits, and really it's not 20 years of bad habits because, you had good habits going through high school, okay? So then what did you, maybe? Are you his dad?
You're making an assumption.
What's that?
You're making an assumption.
I'm making an assumption. Yeah. So what did you do after high school? Did you get right into real estate?
No, I went to college,
You went to college. Where'd you go?
North Central.
Good for you. That's right down the street, all right? Yeah, that looks like a really nice campus. Okay? So you went there, and again, kept good habits. And how long in real estate now?
Like 3 weeks.
3? Wow, good. Let's give him a hand. Good for you. Good for you. So you have the best opportunity because you can develop the right habits now, which will just set you on fire through the rest of your career. You know, us old, how many people here join me in their 60s or above? See, we're the hardest people to retrain because we've got all of those bad habits. Okay? And it's harder to change them. It's harder to change them. Okay? Stay on your schedule. And here's a key one. Under promise and over deliver. Under promise and over deliver. Who here has ever gotten an offer on one of their listings? Or I take that back. Scratch that, zip. Who here has gotten a phone call that says an offer is coming in on one of their listings? And they get so excited that they call their seller right away. We have an offer coming in. Who's ever done that? Yeah, just everybody. If you didn't say you did it, you're lying. Okay? And then the offer never shows up. And then the offer never shows up. Who looks bad then? Okay? When an offer comes in, review it and call the seller and say, we've got an offer. Okay? Under promise and over deliver. Okay? Letter E. The amount of discipline you display daily. The amount of discipline you display daily. Underline the word discipline. Going to work each day. Following your schedule. Setting and maintaining standards. Setting and maintaining standards. You know, standards in everything you do. How clean is your car? Your clients see it. Okay? You know, you wash it every day? Yeah, good for you. Okay? You know, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to drive a Mercedes or a Lexus or anything like that, but what you have, keep it clean. Because they see it. Okay? How you groom yourself so your clients see you. You know? How clean is your desk? Everything you do. What commissions you charge. Do you know what to say? Do you know what to do? Treat your job like a real job. Okay? And letter F. The amount of consistency in your business life. The key word being consistency. Are you tracking your numbers? Do you know how many calls you make? Do you know how many appointments you set? Do you know how many calls it takes to set an appointment? See, these are things that Walmart knows how many people have to come in the door to sell a certain amount of product. We need to know that too if we're business people. We need to know how many calls, every call I make, I know how much it's worth to me. Okay? Because that's what keeps you going. Okay? Who here would make 5 more calls a day if they knew that each call was worth an average of $200? Who would make 5 more calls for an extra $1,000? Maybe that is what your calls are worth, but if you're not tracking it, you don't know. So we quit after just a few calls. Okay? How many people here ever take a vacation? You should, but we gotta plan it like a real job. You know, even in the Army, I only got 30 days vacation a year, and 30 days wasn't 30 days. 30 days was not 30 days. Because weekends counted. If we were, you know, it was how long were you gone? If you were gone on a Saturday and a Sunday, that was 2 days of your vacation time. So really it ended up being like 2 or 3 weeks vacation when you stop and get down to it. Okay? So are you planning your vacations and only taking 2 or 3 weeks a year? Or you just take, you know, so I have a coaching client that didn't show up for his call 3 weeks ago, and I said, where were you? He said, well, my wife surprised me. It was my birthday, and she said, pack your bags. We're going on a weekend trip. I've got this bed and breakfast plan. He said, and I went. I said, I think that you have a nice wife. In fact, here's what I'd like you to do. When it's your wife's birthday, I want you to do the exact same thing. plan a trip, don't tell her, pack her bag, get plane tickets and everything, and on the morning of her birthday say, honey, don't go to work today, we're going on a trip. He said, well, she can't do that, she's a nurse. She has to go to the hospital. So you respect her job that pays $50,000 a year, but she doesn't respect your job that pays $300,000 a year? What sense does that make? But why should they respect our job if we don't respect our job? Okay?
Right.
So we've got to treat our job like a real job. Now we're going to take a break in just a few minutes. We're going to take a break in just a few minutes. What I want to do first is I want to talk a little bit about the Superstar Retreat. And I've got these forms here. Can we put, Teresa, can we put one of these? I've got this real easy. I've got them divided up in stacks. For most tables, people have combined, but there should be enough in each stack for one table. There's 7 in a stack. If you've got more than that, we can get more. Okay? How many here have ever been to a Mike Ferry event? Okay? Quite a few of you. Good. So in July is what we call our Superstar Retreat. This is the pinnacle of all events. There's going to be about 3,000 people in the room. And Mike's going to be speaking the entire time. And he's going to be talking about skills. What Mike is going to do at this retreat, he's going to go through 23 different skill sets that an agent needs to know to develop the highest possible level of expertise. He's going to ask you to write down that skill, and then he's going to give 4 or 5 points to support that skill, and then he's going to invite an agent, a top producing agent, to the stage to describe how they implement that particular skill in their business. So you hear not only the theory and practice from Mike, but how other people are actually putting it into practice. Does that make sense? Okay? And there's going to be a lot of other things covered as well. The Superstar Retreat is July 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, and 22nd. So it's 5 days. The first day is a bonus day where we have other things going on and rotating sessions with top agents. Okay? This is going to be what we call must-see TV. If you want to really progress in this business, you don't want to miss this. It's going to be an opportunity for you to see and talk to and interact with top producers from all over the country. Now, there's a special part about this particular retreat. Do you all have your form in front of you now to sign up? Look in the upper left-hand area, and you see where it says price $450? I want you to put a line through that $450. I want you to put a line through that $450. Don't write anything yet. In most groups I talk to, I have them change that to $395. But I'm not going to do that here for a different reason. Century 21, and this is recently announced, Century 21 nationally is sponsoring the Superstar Retreat. That's new news that I just found out last week. Century 21 nationally is sponsoring the retreat. They're paying over $50,000 to be retreat sponsors and to get you all a discount to get in. Century 21's president and CEO will be there. All of the executive team, or most of the executive team, will be there. There's going to be a special cocktail party just for Century 21 agents. And already there's over 600 Century 21 agents nationwide that are already signed up to go. If you're a Century 21 agent, under that event price, change it to $295. Change it to $295. Now that's good here. That's good here. Now, here's what we're going to do too. What we're going to do is, after the break, I'm going to take, I'm not going to take, Teresa, they've got, you all put your business cards there in that in that cup up there? They're going to do a drawing, and there's going to be 2 of you that get to attend for free. So your $295 will be covered. Your $295 will be covered, okay? And that'll be for 2 of you. If 15 people sign up today, we're going to draw another name for another free one. And if 25 people sign up, we're going to do another drawing, and that drawing will be from those that have signed up. Of those that have signed up, that person will get all of their hotel paid for by Mike Ferry. Okay? So, you know, they'll pay their $295, but they'll have the Las Vegas hotel for free. Okay? Who would like to earn more money? Who would like to do more business? Okay? Consider doing this. You want to go to this. Okay? Now, there you are. You've been to so many retreats. Why don't you tell them a little bit about it? That way they're not hearing from somebody they haven't ever heard from or heard of. But
Now that I caught me with my mouth full, okay, those pastries are delicious. In my intro, there were other things I wanted to say, which I appreciate this opportunity now to say. I've been a licensed broker for over 21 years, and through all the years, as Nathan said, I go to every single conference. I want to learn and grow, and I've been to every different coach, every different conference, and many of the coaches are all very good. But the thing is, my favorite is Mike Ferry, and here's why. Mike Ferry is straight to the point, and he's got a book entitled Straight to the Point, which I encourage you to pick up. But the thing about Mike that differentiates him from the other good coaches is Mike tells you directly what you need to do, and I think you're getting a sense of that right now with Ira. He's telling us what we need to know and do to be professional and to grow our business and have a happy, healthy life, personally and financially. But Mike Ferry tells you what to do, what you need to say, how to say it, and he also tells you what objections, what possible objections you could have when meeting face-to-face with any buyer or any seller, and how to gracefully and confidently engage with that client to overcome that objection in such a way that compels them to want to do business with you and choose you over the other agents that they may be speaking with. So the thing is, if you're wanting to really develop yourself, continue to develop yourself, the Superstar Retreat is the absolute place, the best place that you can put yourself to be. And it's, as Ira was saying, July 18th through 22nd. It's a Monday through Friday. And I've been coached off and on through my whole career with the Mike Ferry organization, and I will continue to do that, and I won't miss an event if at all possible. So, did that cover?
perfect. And if you have any other questions during the break, I'm here. How many people here? Are there anybody here? I know the 3 of you. Anybody else in coaching here currently? Okay, so there's 3 people here that I have the honor of coaching that happen to live in the Chicago area. And if they'll stand up, because you may want to ask them questions. One is Mike Chikuga, and one is Quinn, and the other is Winfield Cohen. Okay, feel free to ask any of them too. They all came here because they go whenever they can, you know, and they'll all be at the retreat, and they've all been to many, many retreats, and you'll see it. It's a life-changing event. If you've never been to one, it's a life-changing event. Okay, let's take 15 minutes and then come back.
it's like starting to click. I think because of how I have everything there now. So I just turned it off. It's still on? Oh, great. Stand right by it. Yeah. Right. So do you have like apps and stuff they don't want anyone else to see it. I guess. Yeah, they had all, it was one of my rentals and they already had it. Like it's already, I already said yes, so they took it back. They still have showings today. They get all these alarms and all these she's like, I'm sure I can get there. Well, I'm sure you did. Because you were the last there. They're the first ones that did today. So you did something with the key. Like, they walked through the grass. I'm like, dear Lord. I gotta go hunt for the key. Get another key. No, I have to say, I have only done that once in my life. It only happened one time.
That's almost. It's like I was walking down the driveway and oh wait, I got
Yeah. Well, it's like if once they lock and close or whatever.
yeah. And now with all the cameras, they know exactly who did it. Yeah. It's just good. It's not great.
Oh, seriously? Are you taking it out? You bring it in here?
No, I just, one of my agents.
It would be.
Well, just help people
Yeah, I know,
Yeah, we ebb and flow, so just like you guys.
so.
Yeah, exactly. So right now we're cool.
Telling Bill, so it's like I have to tell them. It's like, okay, I have all these sellers. Yeah. Because I'm usually at home. So I know. Like, what I last Friday? Yeah. So we go at like with this. Okay. Let me ask you. Winter's about to be I need to let everyone know that my mother and I are coming out to so I want to share that. Before the winter. Yeah, she's going in her. That was really great. But I loved it. Stand up. They all exactly.
Singing sergeant.
We have like a couple like a couple nights camping, and then go to like Michigan, like beach house. My niece and nephew are going. I'm hosting their graduation party. My sister's twins are graduating high school. They're like off to college, so my niece is going to Coastal Carolina. So I'm like, oh, this fall. I mean, we're definitely like, well, my wife's not doing that. So, it's been not there. Okay, so, up there. Actually, the that we had our first night class event was how I feel like it was a birthday party Saturday, birthday party, like every Saturday now. Like, people had birthday now it's like birthday party. Yes, I know.
Okay, let's take our seats and get back to it. Let's go. Let's go. Well, this is pretty good. We haven't lost that many people yet. There's always some people that will leave on a break and never come back. But Terry's still here, so we can go fishing.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we get back to it, what questions, comments, anything does anybody have from what we talked about this morning? Any questions at all from this morning, from the first session?
You're that good.
None? None? So we had one question. Yeah, please.
What's the best way to prospect?
I'm sorry?
What's the best way to prospect?
What's the best way to prospect? Okay, what a great question. So there's a lot of ways to prospect. And in fact, there's over 60 ways to prospect. So what are some of the best ones? Certainly one of the most effective ways is to get on the telephone. And whether you're calling expireds, for sale by owners, just listed, just sold, your database, we're going to talk about database in the second session. But But certainly getting on the phone is an effective way. Some people like to go door to door. This time of year, you can do that in Chicago. I wouldn't be doing it in January or February, okay? Because it's a little bit cold. And you know, they call this the Windy City for a reason. You know? Yes, Teresa.
Ira, I couldn't help it, but it triggered when he asked that question, the best way, when you say on the phone, and then you mention for sale by owners, canceled, expireds, absolutely. But then the real key is knowing what to say, as I said earlier. Mike Ferry has, I don't know how many, 20 scripts or more?
Yeah.
So no matter who you're wanting to prospect for, and again, Mike gets really in depth with that at the Superstar Retreat, but there are specific scripts. And guess what? You know, Mike Ferry's very generous. A lot of this is on the website.
All on the website and all free at www.mikeferry.com. All there and all free.
But if you really want to be successful, again, it's knowing what to say and how to say it and how to overcome objections so that you come across as the most professional and knowledgeable person to work with.
So, thank you. So, for an example, if you're in a neighborhood and you're knocking on doors, or if you're on the phone and it's around one of your listings, let's say you listed a house at 123 Maple Street. Hi, my name's Ira with Century 21, and I just listed a new home for sale right down the street from you at 121 Maple Street. And it's a nice 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath home, and it's listed for $599,900. Now, I'm just wondering, who do you know that would like to move to our neighborhood? And they're going to normally say, no one. Okay? Well, no one, great. I appreciate you taking the time to think about it. Well, how long have you lived at this address? Well, I've lived here for 5 years. 5 years, good for you. What brought you to this area? Well, it was a job change. A job change, perfect. So if you were to move, hypothetically, where would you go next? Well, I'd go back to Florida. I just do not like these winters. You know, if you go to Florida, do me a favor. Buy a big enough place that I can come and visit, because I don't like the winters either. And when would that be that you'd be moving? Well, we're thinking of moving next week, you know. Now, you're generally not going to get that answer, but see, did you see how it was all question-based? Okay? And were any of the questions closed-ended, that they could be answered with a yes or a no? Or were they open-ended questions that generated dialogue? Okay? They were open-ended and generated dialogue. Okay? But that's knowing what to say, even if we're knocking on doors. Okay? Whether a doors or why. Okay? If we're calling somebody we know, you know, you're going to introduce yourself again. So if I'm calling my Aunt Mary, I'm not going to say, hi, this is Ira Nadich from Century 21. You know, we have to know who we're talking to. For some people, I'm Ira. For some people, I'm Ira Nadich. For some people, I'm Ira Nadich, your realtor. For some people, I'm just Ira. You know, it just depends who you're talking to. But then, this is a business call. Do you have a minute for me? Well, sure. Now you've set the stage of why you're calling. I'm not calling to talk about the family reunion next week or next month. Okay? But we've got to know what to say and how to say it. And then open houses. That's a means of prospecting. It may not be one that's high on our hit list of most effective ways, but a lot of people do them. And if you're going to do an open house, there are effective ways to make it more effective. One is to go door to door or make phone calls ahead of time in target areas. Who's the target buyer to this house? Well, this is a small first-time home buyer townhome. Well, let's go to apartment complexes that may feed into a first-time home buyer house and let them know we're having this open house to invite them over. You know, we're having an open house this Sunday from 1 to 4. We'd sure be glad to see you there. See, there's scripts that we can use to make our prospecting more effective. Did that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And now, we had another question during the break. And during the break, what was the question was, what was it?
3 year.
Oh.
You said now versus 5 years. Is it the 20?
Yeah, okay, so the questions that we asked, you know, where do you want your business to be 5 years from now? Okay? What we teach at the Mike Ferry organization is that anybody that wants to grow their business should be able to grow their business if they want to at a rate of 20% per year. Now, not everybody wants that. Some people are happy where they are and don't want to grow their business. Others want to take it to new heights. But let's take a look at this a second. Who's got a calculator handy? Anybody have a calculator? Okay. You have it out? You have it out? Your calculator, are you ready? Okay, so let's say you're doing 15 deals this year. Just as an example. If you were to raise it by 20%, that would get it to 18 next year, right?
Correct.
Okay? How many year 2? Adding 20%. 21? Actually, it should be closer to 22. Okay? And what about year 3?
Almost 27.
I'm sorry. 26? Okay, what about year 4?
31.
31, what about year 5? I'm sorry? 37? Okay, so we just went from 15 to 37 in 5 years. Okay, more than doubled. Okay, now you can go faster than that. You can go a lot faster than that. We generally see people that get involved with our training, their first year will really accelerate that, and it won't be 20% growth, especially if they're a newer agent. You know, it's not uncommon to find first-year agents following the Mike Ferry system that are doing 15, 18, 25 deals their first year. There's one lady out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Her name is Brianne. She started with us as an 18-year-old high school student and did 68 deals her first year. 68. Sorry, guys, she's married. Okay, but see, now that's at the other end of the spectrum. You know, superstar status. But it's not uncommon. You know, Bernie Gallerini. I met him, probably about 12, 13 years ago. He did not have his first deal yet. He was brand new in the business in Nashville, Tennessee area, a small town called Hendersonville, Tennessee, which is outside of Nashville. And he had taken his first listing, but had not yet made his first sale. This year he's going to do 700 deals. That again, not everybody grows at that level. And we're not selling the fact that everybody grows at that level, okay? But it's not uncommon. Our average person, the average person we coach, does 52 deals a year, okay? What's the average commission check here? What, 15,000, would you say? Is that high? 10,000? 8 to 10? So let's just do 10 because it's easier for me to do in my head. That'd be $520,000. Who would like to earn $520,000? Okay, you can do it. And that's an average. There's a lot of people doing a lot more. What other questions do we have? No other questions? You gotta be kidding me. I must be. So that means that, yes, please.
How do you find social media like content, like real estate related, like posts like on Facebook or Instagram? Because every day I try to look for something.
You try to look for something on Instagram or Facebook?
Yeah, like real estate, like content to engage like buyers and sellers.
Yeah, see, so this is our view. And some of you may not agree with this view, but this is our view. Social media is social media, it's not business media. Okay? Your clients, your prospects are going to Realtor.com, they're going to Zillow, they're going to Trulia, they're going to Century21.com. You know, they're going to different real estate websites to find out about real estate. Okay? They're not going to Facebook. Let me go to Facebook and see who's got a house for sale. You know, that's just not happening. So some of you may use Facebook to show your friends that you're active in the business, and that's great. That's great. You know, it's a way for them to continue to see that. You may put it when you sell a house. You know, you have the buyers smiling and they're holding the sold sign and it's there in front of the house. Say congratulations to these new buyers. You know, that makes them feel good and it makes their friends feel good, and that's fine. But you don't want to spend too much time on social media because that's a detriment from getting your business stuff done. And there's more effective ways. Does that make sense? Okay? All right, good. So now, who has signed up, who's filled out their application so far for the retreat? Because, you know, we're going to have this, these drawings, and you can't win the free room if you're not registered.
So Ira, there are many of us already signed up, that were already signed up pre this event,
Okay,
so that's.
Who's already signed up? Okay, so raise your hand real high if you're already signed up. Okay, so there's about 5 or 6 that are already signed up. So that means there's about 90 that aren't. Who wants to get a free room? Nobody wants. This is a tough crowd. This is a tough crowd. Okay? All right. Well, think about it because it's really to your advantage. It is really to your advantage. I can't overemphasize that. Okay? And we're going to have a drawing at the end. So let's get back to our notes. Point number 3. Point number 3. Let's look at why the inventory is so low. Let's look at why the inventory is so low. Is it really so low, or are things simply selling too fast? Boy, that's an interesting thought, isn't it? Is it really so low, or is inventory just selling so fast? Or is it both? Okay, so let's look specifically at some of the causes. Because in some cases, the houses have gone for sale, but they just sold so quickly that the inventory is gone before it gets there. So point A, looking at why the inventory is so low. New construction can't keep up with demand. New construction can't keep up with demand. See, 15 to 20% of all listings, 15 to 20% of all resale listings are generated by new construction. Because somebody buys some new construction and they have to sell their existing home. But new construction has really slowed down, okay? It's not that people don't want to buy a new home. It's that it's more difficult to buy a new home right now. See, what's happening is, excuse me, with prices going up so much of so many products, builders can't even price homes. You know, there's people that are signing contracts to buy new construction, a custom build, and they don't know what it's going to cost them. They're signing contracts for custom build homes, and they don't know how much it's going to cost them because it's in the contract with many builders now that the price can change based on their costs. You know, I own a home, a condo in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's a money-losing rental because my son lives in it, and it needs new windows. So we had a window company come out, and they gave us the quote, and we're ordering the windows, but they're not going to be delivered until September. Windows. You can't get a window. Okay? Well, and the prices are outrageous. But forget the glass. Forget the glass. What's the frame of a window made of in most cases? Wood is in some cases. In most cases, what are they made of? Vinyl. Vinyl is petroleum based. So just like the price of fuel for your car or for heating oil for your house is going up, the price of windows is going up because it's more expensive to make the frames. What about all the plumbing in a house? What's it made of? PVC and plastic. It's and petroleum based. It's going up. Okay. By the way, once you make the plastic and once you make the windows, how do you get that to the builder? On a truck that has to pay $7 a gallon for diesel. Okay? Which of course is again raising the cost of the materials. And in some cases, the builders are ordering stuff that just isn't available. They don't know what their costs are gonna be. So they've got it in their contract that as their cost changes, so does your contract. So I have talked to some people that have actually been in contract and waited 6 months for their house to be built, and now they can't afford the house that they no longer qualify for the house that they did qualify, because you can't lock into an interest rate. So now your interest rates are going up. It's taking an inordinate amount of time to build. They can't get the supplies. You don't know what the cost of your home is. Okay? It's causing a lot of builders to really slow down, and that's stopping the resale listings, because the resale listings, 15 to 20% of them, come as a result of new construction. Does that make sense? Okay? So that's a reason why inventory is so low. Letter B of reasons inventory is so low. Some people are still cautious regarding COVID and the number of people they have in their homes. Some people are still cautious with COVID and the number of people they have in their homes. Agents are still doing some presentations by Zoom, okay? Sometimes people are looking at homes. You know, we're seeing more sight unseen sales than we've ever seen before, because people are doing it through, maybe an agent walks through and they're walking their buyer through on FaceTime. I see some heads nodding that they've done that or know of that. People are looking at houses via FaceTime. My daughter bought a new house in Portland, Maine, and they had a rule that you couldn't look at the house until after you were under contract. They weren't letting people come in to look at the house. You had to write a contract that was acceptable before they would even let you come in the house. So she had looked at the pictures. They had nice videos, you know. It was as nice as could be in terms of how they did it. They put in the offer. It was competing offers. There were 8 competing offers, all from people that had never been in the house. Well, my daughter got the house. Then they got to go in the house, but even then it was limited. Only 2 people could come in. So my granddaughters couldn't go in to see the house. They didn't get to see the house till after settlement. Okay? Well, to some people, they say, well, that's okay. It wasn't okay with my granddaughters. Okay? Does anybody here have kids that wouldn't be happy that they have to move into a house they've never seen? Hey, life goes on, you know? But see, that's happening. Some people are still concerned with COVID. Okay? So who would have thought 4 years ago, just 4 years ago, that we'd be selling houses via Zoom and FaceTime? I mean, who here has ever been on a listing presentation on Zoom? Oh, I'm surprised it's not more. I'm surprised it's not more, because it's really a quite effective way to do it. Okay, letter C. We actually believe that working with buyers is easier than listing property. Not in this market. Not in this market. I mean, how much fun is it to drive a buyer around so that you can compete with 5 other people and not get the house and then start the whole process over again? Does anybody think that's fun? Okay? But yet there's people that are doing it all of the time. Okay? Now, how many of you have written multiple offers on multiple houses and not gotten any of them? Yeah, just about everybody. It's hard. It's hard work. Okay? But there's people out there that would believe that it's easier than taking listings. It's much easier if we would get on the phones, if we would knock on doors, if we would communicate with our past clients and our centers of influence. Who here has ever looked at the MLS or driven by a sign and said, holy crap, that house is for sale and it's my past client. I sold them that house. Who's that ever happened to? Okay? It's happened to more people than raised your hand, I guarantee you that. Okay? So it happens because we're not staying in as close a touch with them as we should. We're not following up as much as we should. Okay? But it's a lot easier to be a listing agent in this market, okay, than to take out buyers if we would take the time to do it. Letter D Another reason inventory is starting to rise. The greed of sellers. The greed of sellers. See, good agents are turning down greedy sellers because they've got a lack of motivation. Okay? Good agents are turning down the greedy sellers. But as prices level off, or even go down, this will become more of an issue. Okay? We've got to be stronger on price. Now, there's a way to do that. There's a way to do that. If you're a new agent, how many people in the business, again, less than 1 year? Okay? For those of you less than 1 year, what I recommend you put in your schedule is that you go out and preview homes a minimum of 1 hour a day. That you go out and preview homes a minimum of 1 hour a day. Because you're going to learn so much about homes themselves. You're going to learn about construction. You're going to learn about what inventory is out there. It's going to help you with pricing. It's going to help you learn different areas. Okay? Any brokers in the room agree with that? Disagree with that? Agree? Okay. Now, for those of you that are veterans, anytime, and the new people, anytime you set a listing appointment, I recommend that you preview, before you go on the appointment, the top 2 or 3 active comparables. Preview the top 2 or 3 active comparables. Do you know how much power you will have at the listing presentation when you say, I've been in this house. Yours is better because of A, B, and C, but theirs is better because of X, Y, and Z. Okay? Because when you're dealing with the greedy seller, you're able to wipe the slate clean when you've physically been in the competition and they haven't. Well, my house is better. Oh, help me here. What makes yours better than this one? I need to understand for when we're trying to sell the buyers. Well, I've got better landscaping. And my carpet, it's like new. Well, yeah, I know your carpets. First of all, you've got beautiful landscaping. You've done a great job of it. And your carpet is in great shape. I mean, you've probably been taking off your shoes the entire time you've owned it for all 25 years. Because, I haven't seen clean shag like this for a long time. But but isn't that what you get from people? Okay? So when we've been in the competition, it makes us all that more powerful. Okay? Letter E. Letter E. Pre-COVID, 30 to 40% of all agents worked at least occasionally on trying to procure listings. Pre-COVID, 30 to 40% of all agents worked at least occasionally on trying to procure new listings. Today, 5% or less of the agents work on getting new listings. 5% or less work on getting new listings. Well, this in and of itself creates a lack of inventory because we're not doing our jobs trying to get new listings. Okay? Now, what are some of the reasons for that? Well, who's been in the business over 20 years? Okay? Okay. You were in the business over 20 years. 20 years ago, how would you have defined a team? 20 years ago. You wouldn't have. They didn't exist. If you called yourself a team, that meant you had an assistant. Okay? Or maybe your spouse was in the business and you had a husband and wife team. That was a team 20 years ago. Okay? Today we've got teams where there's 10, 15 agents on the same team. And you've got one team leader who might be spending thousands of dollars to buy leads. And then the other people on the team are all trying to work those leads. Okay, but are those leads primarily listing leads or are they primarily buyer leads? They're primarily buyer leads. They're buying them from Zillow, they're buying them from different sources, and they're, you've got all these leads, whether it's Agent Machine or HomeLight, there's all kinds of sources, but they're primarily buyers. And they're primarily not high quality buyers. Okay? So we're spending a lot, but here's the funny thing. We give them this list of leads, and I'm using the word lead lightly, and then they get on the phone to call the leads that they know are bad quality buyer leads to begin with, rather than calling their own past client centers of influence who would want to do business with them if they called them. I don't want to do that. They'll think I'm begging for business. Really? Really? These are people that need your help. So, who's afraid to call? Be honest. Who's afraid to call their database? Okay. So, why are you afraid to call your database?
I am just uncomfortable on the phone and asking for their help.
Because, and these are people you know. Are you comfortable calling people you don't know?
Sometimes more.
Okay, and that's normal. That's normal. So now let me ask you a question. I'm not picking on you. Okay? How would you feel if your next door neighbor put their house for sale and it had a Coldwell Banker sign on it instead of a Century 21 sign, and they said, well, I forgot you were in the business.
Well, I had that happen with 2 neighbors last year, not because they forgot, but because they chose.
Yeah.
Just chose.
Yeah. But see, if we stay in touch with them more, it's less likely to happen. It's less likely to happen. It will happen to all of us sometimes, but it's less likely, okay? It's a frustration because there should be a lot more people that want your help and inventory would be growing. Okay? Which takes us to letter F, which is teams. With teams getting bigger and bigger, and the team members working with buyers, you know, we just have less people attempting to get listings. Okay? We just have less people attempting to get listings. And that's one of the causes of the lower inventory. Letter G. We really believe working with buyers is easier. Now, that's very similar to what letter C was, okay? Okay, we've got to get that thought out of our head. And letter H, there are too many, this is an important one, there are too many off-market listings, pocket listings, coming soon listings that are actually sold before they hit the MLS. These distort our numbers. So it looks like there aren't as many listings, but maybe there were as many listings. The numbers in the MLS are distorted because we sold home. There's nothing wrong with a pocket listing that you sell on your own. We're not complaining about that at all. Who's the easiest person to work with as a co-broker?
Yourself.
Yourself. You know, you'll never have trouble with the other agent. So if you can take a pocket listing and get the buyer for it yourself real quickly, good for you. Good for you. But it distorts the numbers because in some cases it never hits the MLS and so it looks like, oh, there were 6,000 new listings. Well, maybe there were 7,000 and 1,000 of them fell into one of those other categories. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's not that the listings aren't happening, it's that the numbers are somewhat distorted. Okay? So that was letter H. Letter I. Agents rely on or believe that because of their marketing efforts, their social media postings, their branding and videos, that sellers will call them. Okay, so let's put that to rest. Okay? Who here has ever been in a supermarket that has a realtor's picture on the shopping cart? Just about everybody. Is there anybody in this room that has ever, at least one time, seen somebody say, Mabel, do you have a pen and paper? I've got to write down the name and number of this realtor whose picture's on our shopping cart. Or who's ever seen a big billboard of a realtor on the highway? Anybody seen that? Yeah. When's the last time you ever saw somebody jam on their brakes so that they could write down the name and number of that realtor? See now, if Century 21 affiliated wants to put up a billboard, and I don't know if they do or don't, but if they want to put up a billboard, that's different. That's institutional advertising because you will drive by and remember the name Century 21. Okay? You see Century 21 advertising on the television. It doesn't say Century 21 affiliated, it's the National Century 21 affiliate. But see, they're building the brand and people remember Century 21 and that results in phone calls. It's not the individual's name, okay? So there's a guy in my old marketplace in Pennsylvania when I lived there, and he always had his face on the shopping carts, a giant. And I said to him, and his name was Jim Wise, and he went by, be wise, call Jim Wise. And I thought that was kind of cute and kind of catchy. Well, he was on those shopping carts, and I said to him, I said, Jim, I can't believe Giant lets you be on those carts. And he had a kind of chubby face. And he said, what are you talking about, Ira? I said, well, people look at your face and they stop buying food. I won't tell you what he said. We're in mixed company. Okay? Or the bus benches. This is what Mike says, and he's right. If you can't afford a car, how can you afford a house? Why are we advertising on bus benches? But that's realtors trying to, who's ever been in a diner? Who's ever been in a diner and seen the paper placemats and it's got ads and all of it, and there's a realtor's ad on there? Has anybody ever seen those? Okay, now raise your hand real high if you've seen those.
Yeah.
Keep your hand up if it's ever a top producer. Really?
Right there.
Does it work?
I get several each year for that, especially with past clients and committees say.
Okay, but especially past clients. And see, with staying in touch with them, you would have gotten those calls anyway. Okay? Okay, so, okay, but the thing is that generally speaking, it's not the top producers doing that. In some cases it is. And maybe he works in a small select area where that's a way to, all of his clients, go to that same diner. I go to a diner every Friday. My wife and I go every Friday that I'm in town. And we go to the same diner, and I'll tell you what, everybody knows everybody. Out-of-towners don't go to that diner. The only people that are there, when we all die off, they're going to have to close their doors. Okay? All right, so I was speaking in a crowd like this, and in the back left corner, a gentleman raised his hand and said, I take offense to this. I believe in social media and branding my name. I said, well, great. If it's working for you, keep doing it. But consider some of the other things we're talking about so that maybe you can build your business other ways. But now that you brought it up, see, he opened the door. And once you open the door, it's hard to close it. And I said, how much of your business comes from social media? And he said, I get 40% of my business from social media. And I said, wow, 40%. That sounds like a lot. But being kind of a numbers guy, how many deals did you do last year? He said, well, not as many as I want. Now see, it's like a tiger going after raw meat. And I said, how many is not as many as you want between 0 and 100? And he said, well, I did 10 deals last year. I said, okay. So you did 4 deals on social media. I would submit that if you did 20 deals, you would have gotten the same on social media, the same 4. And if you did 30 deals total, you would have gotten the same 4 on social media. So keep doing what you're doing to get those 4 deals on social media, but let's start working on other things that can help you grow your business to a level that you do want. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So that's one of the reasons that inventory isn't where it should be, because we're spending too much time on things that don't make a difference. Okay? Oh, yeah, my favorite. My favorite, and I almost left this one out. This is only going to affect the men in the room. How many of the men have ever gotten a phone call that says, "Hi, I saw your picture on the internet, and based on your picture, I'd like you to be my realtor"? I can tell you in 25 years, I have never gotten that call. And quite frankly, I don't understand it, because I look in the mirror and I would call myself. On the other hand, when I had 2 buyer's agents on my team, and they were both attractive women who had less than 2 years in the business and no experience whatsoever, they did get those calls. Okay? They did get those calls. And sometimes it happens. We had one girl, Marianne Colorasi. She's taking this guy out that made that call, and she's taking him out, and she's taking him out. And I said, "Marianne, he's not going to buy a house from you. He's dating you." And she says, "That's not happening." I said, "It is happening." I said, "Last time you went out, who bought dinner?" "Well, he did." "He's dating you." So I said, "Next time you have an appointment with him, you tell me, because I'm taking him out." So he comes in the door, and I walk down the steps, and I said, "Marianne's no longer your agent, I'm your agent. I have to apologize to you." And he said, "Apologize for what?" I said, "Clearly she has not been treating you with the respect you deserve. Because you came here to buy a home, and she's wasting your time showing you all these homes week after week after week. And I know that's not what you want. You wouldn't have come in for that." He bought a home that day. Okay? So, but we're not going to get a lot of calls because of our looks. Okay? Letter J. We rely on purchase leads too much, and 95% of them are buyers. Do we really need more buyers in this market?
No. If they have something to sell.
What's that?
If they have something to sell.
If they have something to sell, but then we're going to call them a seller, aren't we? Yeah. If they have something to sell, that's great, because then they're going to sell. But if they're only a buyer, do we need more? We can't find houses for the ones we have now. Okay? Letter K. Put a star next to this one. Put a star next to letter K. Our databases are too small to effectively take 12 to 15 listings per year. Our databases are too small to effectively take 12 to 15 listings per year. So, who here has lived in Chicago or the Chicago metropolitan area for more than the last 10 years? Almost everybody. Not everybody, but almost everybody. You should have a minimum of 500 people on your database. Now, the database is basically built up 2 ways. You've got your past clients, that's anybody who's either bought or sold a home from you. Anybody that's either bought or sold a home from you. And your center of influence. Center of influence is every other single human being that's of home buying age, which is 18 and over, that knows you who you know. So in your case, the first thing I would do is pull out my high school yearbook. And how many people graduated with you in your high school?
About 550.
About 550. And of the 550, how many of them do you think you know? Not best friends, not good friends, not teammates, just people you know.
Probably 400 of them.
You should have 400 on your database already. Okay? As long as they still live in the metropolitan area. Okay? And that's a way to start. Because now truly you're going to have more buyers, but some of them you even know their parents, and their parents will go on your database, you know, and they might be sellers. Okay? So anybody we know, your doctor, your lawyer, okay, the hygienist, the veterinarian, the vet tech, the tellers at the bank, you know, the person that takes your dry cleaning. You know, if you go to the same restaurant, you've gotten to know the waiters, the waitresses, the hostesses, and you know, Anybody you know who knows you. They don't have to be your best friend. You don't have to well, I didn't put them on because I didn't think they would ever buy. They rent. No, don't add to the definition. It's you know them and they know you. Period. If they meet that definition, they should be on your database. Now, yes, please.
So to effectively take 12 to 15 listings from your database, what should that number be?
We're gonna get there.
Okay.
I promise you, okay? So, we have a 10% rule. However many are on your database, if you treat them properly, we're gonna talk about that in a second, you should get 10% back in referrals or business each and every year. So if you have 500 people on your database, that's good for 50 deals a year. That's good for 50 deals a year. If you've got 1,000 on your database, that's good for 100 deals per year. And many of you could have 1,000. So now, let's say the average sales price is $600,000. And let's say your commission, I'm just making up numbers, it may be valid, it may not be, but let's say the commission is 2.5% on your side. That would be $15,000, okay? But with your split and whatever you're on, let's say your average commission is $10,000. Again, I'm using the 10,000. It might be high, it might be low, just because it's easy enough to do in my head. If you've got 500 on your database, that's 50 deals, that's $500,000. If you've got 1,000 on your database and you're doing it properly, that's $1 million. Who thinks they could potentially have, over time, 1,000 people on their database? Who would like to earn $1 million a year? Okay, let's start working in the database. Okay, so I was in the hospital. Well, it's been about 10 years ago now. I had surgery. I had spinal surgery, and about 2 years later, I got a phone call from a guy in Virginia. And the guy in Virginia says, "Hi, my name's Jim." I don't remember his name. I'm making that up. "My name's Jim, and are you still in real estate?" I said, "Well, yes, I am." He said, "Would you sell my daughter's house for us?" I said, "Well, be glad to. May I ask how you got my name?" He said, "Well, my daughter gave it to me." I said, "Well, who's your daughter?" And he gave me her name. I gotta be honest with you, I'm more than happy to help, but I'm at a loss. How do I know your daughter? "Well, did you have surgery at Hershey Medical Center a couple of years ago?" I said, "Well, yes. My daughter was one of your nurses." See, I made sure every human being that I saw in that hospital got my business card. I wouldn't let the anesthesiologist put me under until I handed him the card. Okay? Well, I ended up selling a house because of handing out business cards. My wife, it drives her nuts. If we go through a toll booth, I give the toll booth operator, because they live somewhere. Okay? When I visit, my parents are deceased now, but when they retired from Chicago, they went to Florida. And whenever I would go down to Florida to visit them, I would get on the phone and call FSBOs. Now, I wasn't licensed in Florida, and certainly I was breaking the law. I didn't care. So I would call FSBOs, and I would actually set appointments. And then I would call local agents and ask them if they wanted a referral. And I'd tell them what day and what time their appointments were. I made a lot of money, and I was just having fun.
Oh my God.
You know, so what we want to do with our database is we've got to call them at least 4 times a year. Call them quarterly. Now, when you call them quarterly, assuming you know the husband and the wife, call the husband and the wife. Because if you only call the husband, guaranteed the wife is going to make the decision who the next realtor is. If you only call the wife, guaranteed the husband's going to make the decision. Call the husband and the wife as long as you know them both. But we've got to stay in touch with them 4 times a year. If they're one of your cheerleaders and they're actively giving you business, or they have the ability to give you business based on their profession, that's a limited number of people. If they're a divorce attorney, could they be giving you business because of their profession? Yeah. Sure. If they're an estate or probate attorney, could they be giving you business because of their profession? Yeah, absolutely. If they're a CPA or a financial advisor, do people check with their CPAs potentially and financial advisors before they buy or sell a house because of the tax ramifications? Okay. What about a rabbi, a priest, a minister? Do sometimes people go to their religious leaders and consult about buying or selling a house, praying together about it? Of course they do. If you've got somebody in your database that's in one of those types of categories, call them every month. Call them every month. Okay? And then everybody on your database mail to once a quarter. Hard copy mailing, not email. Email does not take the place of hard copy mailing. Who here gets junk mail in their mail each day or some days? We all do. We all do. But before you throw it out, you look at it. You might not read it carefully, but you have to look at it to know what to throw out. Okay? It has accomplished its mission. It's okay if they throw out your mail. They're not saving it for its investment purposes. Okay? It's not signed by Frank Thomas, you know, for you White Sox fans. Okay? But it's accomplished its mission. Email, on the other hand, nationwide it's been tested. Only about 3% of all emails are ever opened. Only about 3% are ever opened. I can tell you that for a fact with my wife. She's got about 30,000 active emails in. Suze, why don't you read your emails and clean that out? Why don't you mind your own business and handle your own email? Okay. Well, exactly. Okay? So that's what you want. Does that answer your question did that answer your question on the database?
Absolutely.
Okay? It's an absolute gold mine for all of you. It's a gold mine. Letter L. Letter L. Most agents simply don't prospect. They simply don't prospect because they don't know what to say and they don't know what to do. And as a result, we just don't talk to enough people. Okay? We don't talk to enough people. So the question becomes, who should we call? We were asked that earlier. Where is that young man that asked that question? He's gone. He left us. Oh no, there you are. I was looking at the wrong table. There you are. Good for you. Okay? He's out prospecting. Okay? So, who should I call? We've got to call our past clients and centers of influence. That's got to be job one. Okay? Call all the expired listings. Call the for sale by owners. These are people that are raising their hand saying, I want to move. Who wants to help me? It's low-hanging fruit. Okay? Call the for rent by owners. Some people are for rent by owners because they couldn't sell their home previously, so they decided to make it into a rental. They never wanted to be a landlord to begin with. They only own one home that they rent out. They don't want to be a landlord. They hate it. Okay? They're a potential source of listings. Others do like being a landlord. They're a potential source of investor business of people that will buy investment quality homes from you. Pre-foreclosures, what a great source. See now, for the older people in the room, and I don't mean older age-wise, I mean older in terms of number of years in the business. We remember when the market was really low in around 2008, and there were all these things called short sales, right? God, if I ever had to do a short sale, I think I'd either commit suicide or get a job at Sears on the loading dock. Okay, but and that's with Sears going out of business. I'd still rather be on their loading dock. Okay, but today we're not going to see that. See, short sales were when people couldn't make their payments, and the prices had gone down, so they owed a lot more on their house than what the house was currently worth. Today, there are still people that can't make their payments that are going to lose their homes. And They're nice people, they're great people, they're great Americans, but they're down on their luck. You know, a lot of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and things have happened, they're not earning the money, they can't make the payments, but the house has gone up in value, so there's equity. We could be calling them and telling them how we could put money in their pocket and keep them away from being foreclosed on by the bank and make them money and have a listing at the same time, okay? I know a guy that does this regularly, and he offers them two choices. He says, I can do one of two things. He says, either I can buy your house for cash, we can close in 2 weeks, and I'll give you this amount of money, or I can get you more money if we put it on the market and I open it up to the whole market. You'd be amazed how many people say, wait, you can put $50,000 in my pocket and give me the money in 2 weeks? He says, that's right. But now it might be a $300,000 house that he's only offering them $200,000 on. And they only owe $100 on it. So they're gonna put $100,000, he's gonna put $100,000 in their pocket. They're thrilled. He just bought a house for $200,000 that then he flips by selling it for $300,000. And he makes a lot of money. Some of them he keeps as investments. Or some people will say, no, I like this plan B, let's list the house and then I'll get $200,000 in my pocket. Either way is good, but we have to call the pre-foreclosures to get it, because they're not calling you. Is that a source that some of you may take the opportunity to start calling?
Yes.
Okay. Probates or estates. You know, people die, they have homes to sell. Are you prospecting the probates? And are you prospecting the probate or estate attorneys? Not all homes go through probate. Some people think all homes have to go through probate, not if they're in a trust. So we want to talk to probate or estate attorneys also, because they could be giving you these referrals. By the way, that's divorce attorneys, probate attorneys, those are another source that should be hearing from you monthly rather than quarterly. Okay? And then just listed, just solds. Mike's recommending that everybody call at least 10 just listed, just solds per day. 10 just listed, just solds per day, because nobody else is calling them. And that's a great call to make, especially if you want to raise your average sales price. Pick a neighborhood, pick an area to call these just listed, just solds in an area that's a higher price than you're currently working, and it will help you increase your commission by virtue of average pricing. Does that help everybody?
I don't understand that.
Okay, so let's say that your average sales price, thank you for that. Let's say your average sales price is $500,000.
Okay.
So I'm going to do 3% because I can do it in my head. That's 15,000 gross commission dollars, correct? But what if you called in neighborhoods of $600,000 houses? Then you would be taking listings that are $600,000, which is $18,000 gross commission dollars. So you're going to increase what you earn by increasing your average sales price.
But how does selling or calling just listed or just sold properties?
Oh, okay.
Get you there.
Okay, let's role play this. Okay, ring ring.
Okay. Hello.
Hi, my name's Ira with Century 21, and I just sold a home in your area. Nice 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It's sold for $599, and we know that when one home sells, usually 2 or 3 more sell right away.
Okay.
So I was wondering, when do you plan on moving?
Okay, so you're calling the neighbors of the
Right.
houses that are just listed
Right.
or just sold. Oh,
Right.
Okay, got it.
Right. Right. Okay? Does that help?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry if that wasn't clear. So is it clear now? So you're calling neighborhoods around a house that just sold. Now, what if you didn't just sell a house? What if you're a brand new agent? Well, I didn't sell that house. Hi, my name is Ira with Century 21. Our company just sold a home. Well, let's say it wasn't your company. Let's say it was Remax that sold it. Hi, my name is Ira with Century 21. A home was just sold in your area. Now, this will never happen, but is it possible somebody says, well, did you sell that home? And you'll say, no, I didn't, but I'm going to sell the next one. So when do you plan on moving? Okay? All we have to do is follow the scripts, and we're going to know what to say and who to say it to. Okay? Major point number 4. Major point number 4. Now let's look at a solution to the inventory problem. Let's look at a solution to the inventory problem. Well, we've got to learn the skills involved in the Mike Ferry sales system. And we believe that every agent in this room can take a minimum of 1 listing per week. There is no doubt in my mind you could all take 1 listing per week. You know, about a week ago, I guess it was about 2 weeks ago, there's an agent from right here in Chicago. I won't mention his name, but he's sitting here and his name is Mike Jakuga. And he wrote an email to Mike Ferry. And I could pull it out and read it to you. But it said that, you know, Mike, you've been harping on us for all these years to call our database. And Ira beats me up about it every single week on our coaching call, and I never listened, and all of a sudden I finally got the message, and I started doing it, and he put in the email how he sold, you know, $1 million house and an $800,000 house, and just took 2 more center of influence listings all in the same week, because he started calling. True story or not? True story. Okay? Every one of you can take a listing a week. No questions asked. Every one of you. Okay? Winfield's on track for close to a listing a week right now, aren't you? Real close. And he's, what area of town do you live in?
I work basically north and northwest suburbs from kind of North Cook County, South Lake County.
Okay, and he's doing over a deal. He's going to close 80 deals this year, and is on track for it. So every one of you can be doing this. It's just a matter of taking the time to do it. So how do we do that? Try the following. A, find at least 1 to 2 motivated quality prospects per week. We know they're there. They're not looking for you, so you need to look for them. They're not looking for you, so you need to look for them. Letter B, follow up aggressively on those you call. Follow up aggressively. See, you can't overcall. It's impossible. Now, is it possible that somebody could say, you're rude, you call too often, I would never list with anyone like you? Is that possible? Of course it's possible. But guess what? They weren't listing with you before then either, so you didn't lose anything. So why are we afraid of that happening? It's not like they're knocking our door down first, okay? And it won't happen that often. In fact, 60 to 70% of your business, 60 to 70% of your business should come from lead follow-up. If 60 to 70% of your business is not coming from lead follow-up, think of how much business you're losing. Because the part that doesn't take lead follow-up, that they list with you on the first call, or they list with you because you know, you're getting that business anyway. It's the leads that you're losing because you're not following up with them. And that could be 60 to 70. So that would over double your business. Okay? Letter C. Call your database, call your database, call your database, call your database. Enough said on that one. Letter D. Start or keep building your database. We talked about what kinds of people should be on it. Everybody you know at any level. You know what I always used to do? I used to carry a 3x5 cards in my pocket. And whenever I ran, because I'm human, there are people I know that I didn't remember, you know? And then I'd run into somebody I knew. I'd even sometimes pass somebody on the sidewalk. Ah, that was Joe Sabotin. I haven't seen him in years. I'd write down his name. And then I'd get his information and call him. I'd call him and I'd say, hey, Joe, you know, were you walking on Main Street yesterday? Hear a honk? Yeah. That was me. I couldn't stop, but you know, I saw you there, so I thought of you, and I thought I'd give you a call. You know, so anybody I used to carry the 3x5 card so I could write down names. Letter E. Since everyone is talking about real estate today, when they find out you're a realtor, what's the first thing they say? How's the market? They all ask about it. Say, the market's great. Are you thinking of buying or selling? Okay. Everybody is talking about real estate, so do a minimum of 10 just listed or just sold calls a day in the area. Yeah, did somebody ask something? No? Thought I heard something. Okay. Letter F. Pre-qualify every seller in depth. pre-qualify every seller in depth. And we have a pre-qualifying script. And you ask those questions. It starts off, if what I say makes sense, and you feel comfortable and confident that I can sell your home, do you plan to list your home with me when I come out tomorrow at 4? By the way, do you plan on interviewing any other agents for the job of selling your home? Now, let's review what you already told me. You said you're moving to Oshkosh, Wisconsin, right? And you've got to be there within 30 days for a job change. And the script goes on. We're going to ask them what they owe. We're going to ask them to describe the home to us. See, we've got to pre-qualify them in depth because the pre-qualification script brings out the objections that we're going to face when we're on the appointment, which is going to make us more effective when we're on the appointment. Okay? Letter G. Work on strengthening your prospecting scripts. Work on strengthening your prospecting scripts. Work on strengthening your lead follow-up scripts, your pre-qualifying scripts, the listing presentation. Practice. We talked about practicing. We've got to practice. There's a guy, Tony Smith, great agent, and now he's the vice president of the Mike Ferry organization. He was a football player at Montana State University. And when he was 22 years old, I guess about 21 years old, he had not graduated yet. He took a trip during break, and he was driving down south. He was driving through Apple Valley, California, and his car broke down. And he didn't have enough money to get it fixed. So he found a help wanted sign in a restaurant and started washing dishes to earn enough money to pay to repair his car. Well, now it's been over 30 years and he's still in Apple Valley. He never went back to school. He never left Apple Valley. Now, who's ever heard of Apple Valley? Small little place. I mean, if you blink, you miss it. And he was doing over 150 deals a year in Little Apple Valley. But he started off, got into real estate right away, and started practicing the scripts. He went to a Mike Ferry seminar, saw Mike, and said, oh, this is for me. I understand coaches for football, so I'm going to get a coach. And he was practicing 2 hours a day for 2 straight years. 2 hours. Nobody knows the scripts and dialogues better than Tony, I guarantee you that. But he practiced 2 hours a day for 2 straight years. We've got to do that. We've got to practice these scripts and internalize them so they're part of who we are. Letter H. Answer their questions and objections. Answer their questions and objections. See, when they object to something, it's a question in their mind that remains unanswered. And we've got to be able to handle that objection. Okay? There aren't that many. What's your commission? How long is your listing period? What are you going to do to sell my home? There aren't that many objections. We've got to know how to answer them. Letter I. Put a star next to this one. It's the easiest one, but it's the one that most of us don't do. Ask them to sign the contract. Ask them to sign the contract. How many times have we walked out? Well, I knew they weren't ready. Did you ask them to sign? No, they weren't ready. Did you ask them to sign? They might have signed. And then the next day it's on the market with someone else because they were ready. Letter J, negotiate for them and with them. Negotiate for them and with them. We negotiate for them on their behalf, but we negotiate with them over the different stipulations that we're putting in the contract. What's the commission? How long is the listing period? What's the price going to be? What are you going to do to market the home? All of those are things that we've got to talk about. And letter K, stop celebrating and start at the top every morning. Every single day you should be getting up and saying, what would happen if I didn't have any listings, 0 inventory? If I didn't have any pendings? If I didn't have any buyers? I don't have any prospects? What would happen if you were in that position? Now, some of you I know are thinking, shit, I am in that position. Okay? But what if you were in that position? We've got to think about that every single day because that'll keep us going. That'll keep you driving. Okay? Don't get discouraged by it. Use it as an opportunity. Okay, so point number 5. Point number 5. Major point number 5. What often keeps agents from taking listings on a regular basis? What stops us? And I'm going to go through these somewhat quickly because we've talked about so many of them. And we have some drawings to have. Okay? A, constantly doubting ourselves and our abilities. We doubt ourselves and our abilities, and there's no reason to. You're all great at what you do. And if you're new, you have the potential to be great at what you do. We just need to take the time to learn it. Okay? Who here has ever been a parent? Was it easy when the first baby was born? No. It was hard work. Okay? It was hard work. Who's here had multiple kids? Was the second, and third, and fourth, or whatever, did they become easier? Well, see, I found them to get easier, but not because they were different, but because we got better. See, when my first child was born, I'll tell you what, I was a firm believer in hand-to-butt combat. You know, that would get me arrested today, but back then, everybody spanked their kids, okay? By the time the third one was born, he never got spanked a day in his life. Not because he was a better kid, but because I became a better parent, okay? We learn how to do things. It's the same thing in real estate, you know? If you don't take the time to learn what you have to do, you're not going to get any better. And if you don't get better, the results won't change. Okay? So don't doubt yourself. Take the time to learn. Letter B. What keeps us from taking listings? Negative thinking. Constant negative thinking about what we're doing. Oh, geez, I don't know if I'm going to take that or not. You know, I went to a Mike Ferry event once. It was in Atlanta, Georgia, and it was called the mastery, the sales mastery course. And there was a bunch of us from our area in Pennsylvania that went to this. It was in Atlanta, and one of the things we had to do is the instructor said, okay, now I want everybody to get up from their seats and go around and talk to 5 people and ask and tell all 5 of them what your number 1 goal for this year is. And so there were a bunch of us in the room that all knew each other. And I went up to this one guy and he says, what's your goal? I said, my goal is to beat Tim Costello on a listing presentation. The guy started laughing and he says, what's so funny? He says, Tim just told me that his goal was to beat Donna Fleetwood. See, because you compete with a lot of the same people and you get discouraged if you don't beat them and you always lose. Oh, I can't win that time. I can't win this time because look who I'm going against. Well, yes, you can. You just have to have that positive attitude and go and do what it takes to beat them. Letter C, what takes us away from taking listings on a regular basis? Our fear of failure. Our fear of failure. Don't be afraid of failure. Every no you get puts you one step closer to the next yes. Every no you get puts you one step closer to the next yes. Just keep going out there and fighting the battle. Here's one that should never happen, but happens all the time. Letter D. Mentally criticizing strong agents that take a lot of listings. I hear that all the time. Oh, I know how she got that listing. You know how she did it. She sleeps with the sellers. Okay? I know how he got his listings. Huh. Do you know he cut his commission down to just about 0? He's a commission cutter. That's how he gets them. Why are we criticizing them? Run your own business. Be the best business person you can be. And don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Because if you do the right thing and treat your customers right and get their home sold, they're going to keep coming back to you and giving you referrals because you're the best they know. And that's all that's important. Don't criticize anyone else. Only worry about yourself. And letter E. An important one. Constantly finding reasons not to get started on becoming a great listing agent. We all find reasons why not to get started. We talked about the Superstar Retreat. Every one of you should be going, there's no doubt in my mind. There's not one person in here that wouldn't benefit from going. Some of you are going to decide to join us. Some of you are going to say, no, I'm not going. Okay. My hope for all of you is that your business grows no matter what you do. And I mean that sincerely. My hope sincerely is that you got something today. We only had 3 hours together, but that you got something today that's going to help you grow your business. But I promise you, if you take the step, if you take the step, the next step, and join us in Las Vegas, it's a life-changing activity that you will never, ever regret. Okay, any questions before we start giving out stuff for free? No questions? None. Really?